Hello, my name is Allison Romero, and today, welcome to the Purple News. We will be talking about the Constitution, specifically the first 10 amendments, which are known as the Bill of Rights, and with the help of my co host, Miss Julianne. To understand the Bill of Rights, we have to know about the U.S. Constitution. This is one of the world's most enduring symbols of democracy. And out of the whole entire world, it is one of the oldest and shortest written constitutions of the modern era in existence. The purpose of the Constitution was to be designed largely out of the necessity from the following of the failure of the first revolutionary government. It was both the culmination of American and British political thought about government power and became the blueprint of the future for the United States of America. The Constitution is a changing document as well. For us to understand more about the Constitution, let us get to know about the main thing, which is the first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights is one of the three founding documents. It was strongly influenced by the Virginia Declaration of Rights, which was written by George Mason, and it was also inspired by the English documents such as the Magna Carta, the Petition of Rights, the English Bill of Rights, and the Massachusetts Bodies of Liberties. Now please follow me and my co-host to the wall of Bill of Rights. Here is a picture of the Constitution. This is the First Amendment, which is, the Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. And here it is represented by a shield, which shows the protection of people's freedom of speech, press, religion, and so on. Here is the Second Amendment, which is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And here it is represented by this dog holding a gun, which represents that people have the right to bear arms, and so on. The Third Amendment is, no soldier shall in time of peace be quartered in any house, without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. And here it is represented by two soldiers standing outside the house, not being allowed to enter the civilian's home, which shows how this person has the right to the Third Amendment. The Fourth Amendment is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrants shall issue, but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. And here it is represented by the search button, which shows that no one can have unreasonable searches and seizures or anything that can violate that right. Fifth Amendment is, no person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice to put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Here it is represented by a grand jury, which shows that any person has the right to be present in front of a grand jury due to any crime they have committed or anything else. The Sixth Amendment, which is, in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witness in his favor, and to have the assistance of counsel for his defense. And here it is represented by the lawyer, in this picture, which shows his defense in any of the criminal prosecutions that the person has upon them, and it also shows the right to a speedy and public trial as well. The Seventh Amendment is in suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. In this picture, it shows that any person who has committed a crime that has exceeded over $20 has all the right to a trial by jury in any court with that rule. The Eighth Amendment is excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. And here it is represented by the $sign showing that it cannot be expensive, meaning no expensive bail shall not be required. And this represents how it will show how there is no cruel and unusual punishments inflicted onto the person being affected. The Ninth Amendment is the enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people. And here it is represented by freedom in this picture, which shows that any person has the right of their own certain rights, even if it's not present in the Constitution. The last and final amendment, which is the 10th Amendment, is the power not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. And here in this picture, it is represented by the map of the United States, which shows that each state and all the persons inside of it has reserved powers to themselves, which is not controlled by federal government or fully of the whole United States. The Bill of Rights was mostly made by James Madison in 1789, and he wrote 19 amendments to the first Congress, but after several debates and revisions from the Senate, 10 of them were ratified by the states in 1791, which soon became what we know as today the Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights are very important, especially during this present time, as it remains one of the most important parts of the U.S. Constitution that we know. For example, the freedom of speech, which is the First Amendment, is very important to many people all over the United States. For example, in the Tinker versus Des Moines, which is one of the cases, where students wore black armbands to protest the Vietnam War. However, they were suspended due to their freedom of speech, and here the First Amendment is protecting their right for that freedom of speech. Another example of this being used is the Fourth Amendment, which is protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. In Mapp versus Ohio, which happened in 1961, the court ruled that evidence obtained through illegal searches could not be used in state courts, which shows that citizens of the United States are being protected from unreasonable searches and seizures. In this case, the police did not use any warrants, so the evidence that they received were illegal and they could not be used. Another example is the Marbury versus Madison Supreme Court case. Here, it didn't really affect one specific amendment, but it affected several. For example, it protected the free speech, which is the First Amendment, and the Sixth Amendment, which is to enforce the right to a fair trial, and the Fourth Amendment, which is to stop illegal searches, which is the Fourth Amendment. However, there are some parts of the Bill of Rights that becomes too broad in some areas. For example, in the First Amendment, many people are wondering what free speech counts. There are many ways that free speech is used. For example, there is hate speech or even misinformation on social media or anything that harms a person. Many people are wondering if this should still be counted as free speech, even though they are harmful or false and about talking that specific thing or person. And another example is religions in school, which is the First Amendment as well. And some people are wondering if prayer or religious activity in public schools cross the line, as this does affect the First Amendment. The Bill of Rights is still very important to this day. Even though it is more than 100 years old, it is still one of the most important writings that the United States has ever created. For example, the Bill of Rights has been used in courts and even in daily life as well. For example, in courts, like I said in the examples before, there were many major legal cases that involved the freedom of speech or any of these other amendments that I have named. And then for our daily life, many people relied on these amendments to express their opinions without having to worry about the government trying to overshadow what they are saying. The Bill of Rights are very important to many of us all over the United States, from all the way from where it was made to the present now. Thanks to the Bill of Rights, many of us are being protected, have protection of our own rights in any possible way. Thank you for listening to Purple News. Allison Romero, signing out.